Hey y'all! And welcome to the Sorry Not Sorry Generation podcast, where we bring you a not-so-healthy dose of humor and reality as we get our hands dirty with some serious nostalgia and question everything.
Let's dive in.
Hey y'all!
Hey y'all!
Hey!
It's Misty.
It's Ani.
And Aaron.
We're all back again.
Yes, to cause a little more chaos into your lives.
Which more work horror stories for you all to just cringe and be like, oh god, I'm so glad I'm not them.
Dun, dun, dun.
I will honestly say my best stories will be this week. My absolute best stories will be this week.
The fact that everything I've heard so far is not the cream of the crop is just so petrifying.
Mm-hmm. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 stories in total for this week. 4 of them are my probably top 4 best stories. So, with the exception of the guy who pulled the knife at me at the bench, that's easily one of my best stories. But most of these are just pure gold, just pure gold. So, I have saved the best for last. So,
I've got, I think, 3, maybe 4.
Okay, all right.
Things I dredged up from repressed memories. I'm just like, what can I talk about? I'm like, oh yeah, I worked in these places.
Yeah, it's doing this has definitely brought back some memories. I'm just like, oh.
Aside from the one story, all of mine, compared to Misty's, just sound like minor inconveniences and are not worth retelling ever again.
I mean, look, I've had some wild fucking experiences. So
yes, you have.
I've told I told you guys about, the dude on the bench who pulled the knife on me.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's not the only time I've been physically threatened. So it's one of 3 times I've been physically threatened.
One of 3.
And the other 2 stories will be today. So I think Aaron's having a crisis.
I think Erin's just gonna give you a long, big hug when we come to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I think at this point, I'm just somebody somewhere, as more and more people start to listen to these episodes, I'm just gonna get a notification one day saying somebody started a charity donation thing to send me to therapy.
Clearly, you need it. Go.
It's trauma therapy just for this shit that's happened to me at this store. So. And in all honesty, it wouldn't be wrong.
I actually have a couple stories from a coworker of mine from a previous job of hers.
Right. Yeah, we did have somebody submit some stories for us to tell on their behalf. So
that's gonna be fun.
And if anybody who's listening would like to do the same, absolutely, because we can always we don't have another Work Horror Stories episode planned probably, but as more repressed memories come up, we have more shit to say. And we're more than happy to read other people's stories if you guys would like to send us stories. So
yes, this is true. Please send us your submissions because we want to hear them.
I'm so broken that I'm laughing at repressed memories. Repressed trauma.
Yep.
So funny.
Who would like to start, or do you guys want me to start?
Set the stage.
The floor.
Set the stage.
All right, let's see. All right. I'm going to go with the guy who almost came over the counter to beat the shit out of me because there was a plate on a table that wasn't his. Neither the plate nor the table. Yeah. So, this is one of my earliest instances at the Castles and Poor People here in Florida.
Florida.
Almost all of my stories are from Florida. Let's be honest, Florida's fucking weird. But this is after this is an instance that happened, I think, within my first 2 months there. It's one of the first bizarre things that ever happened to me. But me and my coworker who were there, and we had this huge line of people. Just, I don't fucking know why there was so many people there, but there was just a bunch of people there. And, we're working really hard, we're working really fast and everything. And this massive motherfucking dude, at least 6'4". He looks like the only thing he does in his whole life is spend it in a gym, just lifting weights. And he's huge. Honestly, just based on appearance and the way he dresses alone, mildly surprised he can read, but you know what? Why not? He can be in a bookstore. That's fine.
He's probably there with somebody.
I hope not, for that person's sake. So he walks up, and when I say walk, he shoves his way through the line physically to approach like the front of the counter by literally shoving into people to get them to move so he can go up to the counter. And while the fact that we are very busy, for whatever reason, our dining room is not full. Like, these people are taking their shit and they're leaving. Like, that's just, it might have been one of those days that the actual on brand planetary deer that was in our parking lot was closed, because it closed a lot randomly back then for renovations. It was very old. It closed a lot, so we had to deal with their shit. So, but they took their shit and they were leaving. So we had a lot of spaces in the dining room, because I very, very clearly remember looking at the dining room when he says this to me. Because he shoves a bunch of people out, very physically out of the way, and he points to one of our 3 tables that are along like the big windows that we have. There's somebody in one of them. The other 2 are empty. One of them has a plate on it. That's very important. So he shoves his way to the front of the line, and in the most pissed off, unnecessarily pissed off tone I've ever heard, and he just yells at me, because he did bypass my coworker at the register and went over to me, and he's just like, I want to sit at that table. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but there's a plate on it. And I'm like, okay. Well, sir, we're in the middle of a line. When we're done with the rush, we'll go into the dining room and we'll clean off any of the tables that have anything on them. In the meantime, there are other open tables. And he's like, well, how long is that going to take? And I just kind of like gesture at the line. I'm like, whenever the line's done, 15, 20 minutes maybe. And he's like, I will be back. And I'm like, okay. And I went back to like dealing with our line of like 15 people. Honestly, pretty much dismissed his existence. Didn't actually figure he'd come back, because 20 minutes is kind of a long time to wait, especially when there's other table options. So I was wrong. He comes back. We're still, and he did not come back 15, 20 minutes later. He came back maybe, I would be lucky to say 10 minutes later. Probably less than that. I obviously still have a line of people, of many people. And when I tell you, he shoves this dude who's standing in front of him, like in front of like the case area, away. He shoves this dude away just to lean as much physically over the counter as he can into my face. Just probably about a foot of space between him and me, as he leans over like our displays and everything, and he just loses his fucking mind. Just starts screaming about how I'm a liar, how I didn't clean the tables, how this place is filthy, how he's so pissed at me and I'm the worst customer service and I'm a filthy liar, and just lays into me about just is leaning so far over the counter, I have to lean backwards away from him, because he's now actually leaning far enough over the counter. His like face is on our side of the counter. And he's just losing he's screaming at the top of his lungs at me, calling me all kinds of shit. Just like the terrible, horrible things. He's just screaming at me because there's still one plate on that one fucking table. And
sir, if you're that upset with it, just put the table on the counter where the baristas are, and they will put it in the sink.
Yeah, like move. Well,
he doesn't want to touch garbage.
And it's like, just move the plate, or better yet, sit somewhere else.
Remove yourself. Just remove yourself.
Sit somewhere else. And he was screaming so loud. Now, I didn't work in a small Castles and Poor People. I worked in a huge Castles and Poor People. That takes you a minute to walk from one side of the store to the other. My manager was coming out of the office on the opposite end of the store and heard this man clear as day. That's how loud this person is screaming at me. And as soon as this guy starts screaming, everybody in the line, gone. Immediately. Turn around and leave. They're freaked the fuck out. because he's just screaming all kinds of profanity and shit at me, and I'm just standing there just holding like the middle of an order, like I had a cup, and I'm just like, I don't, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? It was one of my first interactions with like an angry customer in this store too, so it really threw me off because I was not prepared for this shit that was going to be the next like 6 years of my life. And my manager, one of my managers comes over, and he's just like, sir, what the hell is the problem? And he's just like, and this guy, and luckily it was the only male manager we had, and he's a large dude. This man goes and stands inches away from my manager's face and just starts screaming and screaming and screaming. But he's also kind of an idiot because my manager turns and starts to walk out the front door, and the man is following him out the front door. And I'm just standing there just absolutely flabbergasted, because up until that is the first customer I've ever had that really like physically was threatening me and was threatening to come over the counter, because he was threatening to come over there and deal with me. And I'm just like, okay. But that, yeah, he was just making it very clear I was the worst person he's ever seen, and that maybe he should come over there and do something about it. So,
sir, if you could incapacitate one of the baristas who's in charge of cleaning up the cafe, what's going to happen to that plate on that table that you're so adamant about?
I'm sure that's really going to get it cleaned up real fast.
Right?
And so my coworker is just staring at me with just these massive eyes. It's just, they're so wide. And she's just like, are you okay? And I was honestly so shocked by everything that was happening. Like, nothing was registering. Absolutely nothing. I wouldn't be surprised if I was just in shock. And like, I didn't say anything, and I was just continuing to do orders. And then at some point I just went in the back and I just stood there for like a minute or two, because I just like, I was having a hard time processing what had just happened to me. And like, the manager, after he got rid of the guy, came back and he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I think so. And he's like, you don't look okay. I'm like, oh. And it didn't dawn on me until a little later that I must have looked really bad, because we had customers come up and ask me if I was okay.
Oh, God.
And I'm just like, I'm fine. And then I would just like leave. And like, because I did like probably 20 minutes later go into the dining room, clean the dining room. I had several customers stop me to make sure I was okay. And I'm just like, I guess I don't really know. And they just
feel fine.
Were these customers that had been in the line, or just
they were customers who had been in the dining room, because like everybody in the whole store heard him. So
yeah, I was gonna say, or did they come from other sections and be like,
yeah, no, these are the people that sat there and watched me get screamed at over a dish. So
over a dish.
The whole time you were telling that story, I only heard one word in my head.
Okay.
Roids. That is roid rage.
That is honestly, yeah, rage. I would believe that.
That is, someone's on a lot of testosterone. I mean, because you said he looks like he works out, right? So he might have been dosing with testosterone, and he's just, he's a dickhead anyway.
He's just unhinged.
But I think it just sounds like that was facilitated by some kind of drug. Maybe PCP. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, PCP, he probably would have ripped the counter apart. But
yeah, he his arms were as big as my leg. Like, it was huge, dude. And I'm just like, and he was really tall too. And I'm just thinking to myself, the whole time he's screaming at me. Once it starts registering, and the more he's like leaning over the counter, and the more he's just like threatening me, the more I'm just thinking to myself, what can I use to hit him if he comes across the counter? Like, because he's gonna come across the counter, and he just kept
stabbing him with that big ass knife.
Well, that's the thing. I was standing on the appropriate side of the back of the counter, where we keep one of the only knives back there, and our big ass spatula, which is solid metal. And I was just thinking to myself, if he comes over the counter, it's going to take him a minute. because of where he's standing, because there was nothing, like, it wasn't open counter, it was like displays of like our cups and shit like
the
that.
case,
Yeah, because the case is on one side and like right next to me, and then right where he's standing and leaning over is where we keep all the towers of like the cups and all that. I was just kept thinking to myself, if it comes over the counter, it's gonna take him a second. It'll give me enough time to turn around, grab the knife and the spatula, and hit him with it. And that was the only thing that went through my head. And let me tell you, as the years went on, I would stand in that cafe and think about what I would do if things happened. If there was like a robbery, if there was like people threatening me, if somebody came over the counter, if there was like active shooter stuff. The amount of active shooter like information and drill and like actual practice information we had to have was a lot, in all honesty. We had to keep what to do in an active shooter situation, like a little printout of it in our name tags, and we all had to like go through and watch all these videos and stuff like that.
I remember watching those videos here and in Philly, but I don't
They
remember
implemented a
having...
new program somewhere like in my 4th year, I think, and they were really intense about it. It could because of Pulse, and because we live in Orlando. Because of Pulse, they started implementing more and more stuff. And about the 3rd year, I think I was here, and then they would sit us down in groups and they would ask us questions based on like, what do you do if this happens? Where do you go if you're in this part of the store and like an active shooter comes in? Where do you not go in the store if there's an active shooter in there? Where are there no exits? Where's the worst place to be? And just like, they brought us in batches and just drilled us on this information.
I mean, this is deeply unpleasant, but where is the worst part of the store?
The music department. There's no exits in the music department but one.
Oh, yeah, fair. Yeah.
It's only that one little gate.
Yeah, it's like, you just...
And try not to be upstairs, because usually there's only there's escalators, but and there has to be an actual physical staircase. But you know, like, you don't really want to be upstairs because most of the time there's not like an exit of stairs that lead you outside. So
everyone at the Grove and the Americana is screwed because it's all 3 floors.
Right. Well, that too. And you know what's on the bottom floor? The music section.
Yeah, the music section is the worst place you can be because it purposely only has one exit so people can't steal shit. But yeah, it is the worst place to be. So
good to know.
Yeah. And again, not fixing. I mean, not that Castles and Poor People can fix the gun problem, but again, not fixing anything. Just here, plan for it, be prepared.
And well, the thing is too is like our Castles and Poor People, like the one I worked at, was the downtown location. And like there's been shootings and robberies and like all kinds of stuff in our parking lot, in all honesty. Like just in the time I worked there was bomb threats, there was a robbery that ended in a shootout, there was a lady who shot herself in the parking lot. Like there was all kinds of stuff that happened there. And like, so it really didn't surprise me. They started cracking down on it like right after Pulse happened, but they really implemented things in like the next like 3 or 4 years and everything like that, of just throwing more and more and more information at us and just be like, hey, you might die. So and then, but I would just stand in the cafe and just think to myself, what do I do if like somebody comes in? And that's actually something I was glad I thought of, because one of my other stories is going to put that into play. So,
jeez.
So yes, but we will hold on that one because it's time for somebody else to tell a story.
All right. So I got this job at some office. To this day, I still am not sure what the company was about, like what the product they had was about. Like I'm still so confused. I guess they had made a software that could like track preschool child intake stuff, like, you know, all the kids are in, like you keep, like it's for the teachers, like the kids are in or they're not, you know, they're, you know, they all had their lunch, they come in with their lunch, shit like that. Again, I have no clue what exactly this is really doing.
That is so weird, but okay.
I was hired as the admin assistant, getting paid shit, and there were like 5 I want to say sales reps in the office that we worked in.
Okay.
And they would all be like, they would constantly go on like not convention, but like the shit that Yum Earth would do, where you like set up a booth and everything, like that. Expos. They would go to these expos in like different states, and I'm like, all right, well, go have fun. But I was not told about any of my job responsibilities.
Fun.
So it's just here. You're the admin assistant. Okay, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what are my duties?
Yeah.
Apparently, I was in charge. Again, no one told me. Apparently, I was in charge of like office supplies, but I didn't have a company credit card to use. It was just like, oh hey, we're out of printer paper. Go get some tomorrow. I'm like,
How?
what money?
Yeah.
What money? Like, I don't trust you to reimburse me. So what the fuck am I gonna do?
Yeah.
There was a big ass rumor that the owner and one of the lead sales ladies were sleeping together.
Mm.
Even though this guy was married and had kids and everything, but he was this man had found that woman a place to live. He like paid her like bills. He was always in the office with her. I'm like, there's no fucking way y'all aren't screwing each other. There's absolutely no way.
That's a scumbag of a dude who's definitely acting as a sugar daddy, but that's a smart ass woman. So,
like, the whole company was a sham. The only thing that I actually felt proud of doing was they wanted to host an event in, I want to say it was Minnesota,
mm.
and like to get the people that use the software in the area to like, for all the updates and this and that. So I'm like, all right, I booked everything. I booked the hall at the hotel. I blocked out the hotel rates for the rooms. I got his fucking plane tickets. I did everything. I planned out all. I did all the folders of what goes in the folders, everyone's name tags, and this and that. Right?
Yeah.
Whole thing went off without a hitch. And
Okay.
and then like a couple weeks later, this guy turns around and fires me because I didn't get printer paper.
What?
I know, right?
Printer paper.
Yeah.
What?
That is easily deliverable.
We were out of
Amazon.
printer paper, and it was my responsibility to go pick it up and bring it in. I'm like, since when? Since fucking when?
Credit card.
Right. Give me credit card. Give me money. I go buy your fucking paper.
Right.
What did he think you were going to do? Go buy it with your own money?
Yeah. He was like, he's like, like, I'll reimburse you. I'm like, I don't fucking trust you.
Yeah.
I don't trust you in the least.
Absolutely not. Especially considering if you need to buy printer paper for an entire office, that's not going to be like $20.
That's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of money. No,
those
fuck
big
you.
cases, because you're not just gonna get one.
Yeah.
Because then you're gonna be back next week buying another one because the offices go through.
And I'm
like
only
that.
being paid what, $10 an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Don't make your like least paid employee pay for your office supplies.
Right?
What the fuck?
I hated it so much. I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. And he like when he called me into the office to like tell me that he's getting rid of me. He was like, "So you'd be great at sales. You're a great liar." I'm like, "I'm a good liar? I can't lie for shit." Like,
really?
Yeah, he said that to me. He's like, "You're great at, lying and spinning stories. You'd be great at sales." I'm like,
wow.
"Sir, I am telling you exactly what happened. I am not lying."
Wow. What an unprofessional piece of shit. I mean, not that he cares because he's fucking sleeping with his underlings, but Holy shit. Okay.
No, it was terrible.
Yeah. How old were you at this point?
Yeah, when was this?
How old was I? I was 20. I want to say between. Oh my god, I really can't remember. Hang on. Let's see if Facebook has this on there. Nope, I got rid of all that on Facebook. I want to say I think I was still with my ex. So I want to say it was definitely no later than 2014.
Okay.
No later than that.
All right.
Before, sure, but no later than that.
So you're pretty early 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Lord.
Now, do you want me to tell the submitted story, one of them? Or Erin, do you want to go?
I really don't have anything that compares in this. I'm telling you, it's like my lollipop story is all I can think of, and that is not good.
It doesn't matter. We still want to hear it.
You've heard? Oh, well.
I've heard it. She hasn't. The world hasn't.
Okay, this one was just stupid. It's really quick. It was really just stupid. And again, minor inconvenience. So, this is when I worked for the organic candy company. So we're talking about we'll do it 2015, about then. And so I was the receptionist, but like sometimes we'd get calls from customers because the way that it was, if we had no real actual procedure to handle calls from the outside, and sometimes people would literally just look up our phone number from Google, and they'd get the office phone number and not like a customer service line.
Yeah.
And this lady calls in, and I do my pleasantries. How can I help you? And she's like, "Do you put real strawberry in the strawberry lollipops?" Yes, that is kind of our thing.
We are an organic.
We're an organic candy company. We, claim to use real flavors. Yes, there's strawberry. And she goes, "Oh, because I wanted to give them to my daughter because she has a sore throat, but she's allergic to strawberry."
Give her raspberry.
Why would you give her artificial strawberry either? Like, what?
I didn't understand at the time, and I'm just like going, I don't know what's going. Because there's no procedure to answering this question. I mean, she's not being a terrible person. I'm just kind of befuddled by her logic, and I'm going, well, I'm thinking like, well, there's other flavors. Why'd you buy it? Because there were packages of just straight strawberry pops.
Yeah.
And then there were other bags that were mixed and whatever. And it's like, why did you even? Because she already bought it.
Yeah.
If you know your kid's allergic to it, why'd you buy it?
I mean, I assume, but she wanted to use it as a throat lozenge for this child that I can hear crying in the back of the phone because they're in the car. And it's just like, no, it's real strawberry. And she goes, well, that's weird. And then that was the end of the conversation.
Of an organic candy company using organic materials. No, it's weird.
Yeah, and it's just like, that's weird. And I'm just like, and like, of course, Geneva's in the same room, right? And she's just going, what happened? Because I'm sure the 3 parts of the conversation she could hear was like just the most demented. I don't understand to this day what that conversation was about. But if you tried to ask if the strawberry lollipops contained real strawberry, yes, they do, and you're a moron. Thank you.
That is so stupid. That is so stupid.
It's just
like, even if you didn't know, like if you weren't sure, like this might contain real strawberry in it, the safe idea is just don't give it to your child who is already
allergic.
Yeah, I mean, go find a lime lollipop or something completely different.
Or maybe
if you're determined to follow this route instead of buying a throat lozenge.
Yeah, buy a lozenge. Don't give your child a lollipop. They don't
give
need
them
sugar.
Ricola. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Those kind of nice flavors,
right?
Yeah, like come on, jeez.
I've never understood what happened that day, but I have a twitch. Just like why? And then of course then she just hangs up, and I'm just
sitting there with the phone
down.
going.
And you just hope this woman didn't just turn around and hand her daughter as something she's allergic to.
And like, there's nothing I can do to prevent this.
Nope. You're just gonna sit there and just be a spectator in the horror.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great. Yeah. Wow.
So I hope the child didn't go into anaphylactic shock, and it's not my fault. It's her mother's fault.
Yeah, it's definitely her mother's fault. Like, holy shit. Wow. Okay. Sure.
All right. So do we want the submission?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Let us hear our submitted story.
One of the first that we got, she says, is an oldie but a goodie. She used to work in a psychiatric office, and she's got a couple different stories. But she'll start with this one. She worked with a bunch of ladies at the front desk, and she was the only white girl at the front desk, and she was pretty shy at the time, especially since it was her first quote-unquote real job.
Okay.
So she's where is she? She's in Virginia, so like lots of African American people. Her supervisor was African American. She's like, which is fine. However, she pulled me into an office one day and asked me why I wasn't making any friends amongst all the people at the front desk and whatnot.
I mean,
And
first
she's
of all,
like,
it's not a requirement to be friends with your coworkers. It's just
there is
not.
that. And it's
Mhm.
also, it's a psychiatric office. I'm not here to
Yeah,
make friends
God.
With crazies.
behind or in front of the counter. No.
Yeah. Especially not on the other side of the counter.
Just like,
She's like,
I think you're gonna find I have more in common with the people on the wrong side of the counter.
Yeah.
She's
And I don't like to share that kind of
Right?
information.
Like, I looked at her and straight up said, I didn't come here to make friends. I came here to make money. She's like, and I really
Honestly,
think that took her off
bravo.
guard. Right? See, I really think that took her off guard, and I really don't think she liked me very much after that.
Oops.
She's like, I did eventually get more comfortable with everybody, and everyone warmed up and was super nice, but that shit was dumb as fuck.
Yeah. Is there any indication how long she'd been there when this occurred?
Like how long she was working before the supervisor was like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, if it's like a year in, you just gotta assume that the friendship thing isn't happening.
Yeah. Like if it's like a couple of weeks in, maybe just give somebody some time to adjust to it. Like
Right?
you can't.
It's her
leave.
first real job at a psych office, and she's just like,
Yeah.
why aren't you making friends with everybody? Because everyone here is crazy. Like,
Because this ain't RuPaul's best friend race.
this is true.
That's why.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you can't just assume all of your employees are going to be friends. It's just like if they don't want to be friends and they just want to treat it like a job, let them. Like
Right?
that's the thing that drives me nuts about people is especially like a lot of people in management. They take their job as their life. Like this is their thing. This is their focus, and they want you to be as 100% dedicated to it as they are. And it's just like,
No.
no, this is your life. This is your career. This is your job. This is my way of making money. So
Right?
don't
I have
really know
another
what to tell
story
you.
from that same office from her. Want me to read that one too?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Also, the psych office. There was a patient that came in and demanded to see her doctor. However, because we were an outpatient facility, we did not typically take walk-ins. Especially this patient's doctor, who was a really headstrong psychiatrist who didn't take crap from anybody and was a bit of a jerk. So the patient was with a new girl, like a new psychiatrist, and I can tell that something was off based on how she was acting. The guy that she came in with was genuinely looking scared and concerned. So I secretly called my supervisor and asked her to come up and help with the situation. My supervisor refused to come up to the front and help with the lady.
Because she knew who it was.
I have no idea. No idea. So I kind of stepped in and tried to defuse the situation. However, nothing was working because she wanted what she wanted and she was not about to back down. So she's like, I want my doctor and I won't take anybody else. Like, sir, like, ma'am, your psychiatrist ain't here.
Mhm.
You can't just walk in. So after finally me reiterating multiple times that she wasn't going to be able to see her doctor, if she needed to go, see somebody, she needed to go to the walk-in psych clinic. Makes sense, right?
Mhm.
If it's
Yeah.
an emergency, go to the walk-in clinic.
Yeah.
The patient ended up storming out, upset, and on her way out, knocked over the Christmas tree in the lobby, sending
Wow.
ornaments everywhere.
Wow.
Surprised she didn't break the glass door on her way out. And we had to clean up the mess in the lobby full of patients.
Mhm. Of course.
Of course. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I mean,
And
way to
she's like,
prove you belong
needless
there.
to say, the new girl quit.
Yeah.
I bet. Wow. Okay.
That's insane.
That is
Mm.
insane. That's actually insane. I mean, first of all, your manager refusing to help you.
Yeah,
diffuse the
that's dumb as
situation,
fuck.
especially considering where they work. Like, no. Are you kidding me? That should be a manager's first priority in a place like
Mhm.
that. It's just like, I need help, then you should be there. Wow.
It's like,
okay.
you're the manager of this office and how this place runs. I am just a plebe in the front next to a computer and a phone, surrounded by insane people.
Yeah.
Unless
so
they're
help
actively
me.
dealing with another bomb
Right.
going
Yeah.
off, like there's no reason you are not coming out
Yeah.
to either defend your
underling
your
employee.
underling and
Yeah.
or I don't know, prevent a lawsuit because maybe this person goes off and hits one of the other patients,
Right? Like,
Or one of your
anything could happen.
employees. Like, imagine the amount you would get sued if that woman had hit this lady instead, and like you as a manager refused to come help her. Like, are you like, the lawsuit would be insane. Wow.
And it would be an easy win too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'd sue like crazy. It's just like, I asked you for help, you said no, and somebody punched me in the face. So
I'm suing you and her.
Yeah. And just be like, what the hell, man? All right. Let's see. How wild? I'm gonna save the wildest, which is also the longest story, for last.
Okay.
So, and that's where those my pre-planning survival tactics came into play. So instead, let's go with one that's just mildly stupid on everybody's part. So, we have a policy that when if a customer passes out, you're not supposed to touch them. You're not supposed to touch any of the customers. So this is obviously like all of my stories at Castles and Poor People. And this guy comes in 4 or 5 in the afternoon, drunk off his ass.
Oh God!
Just so drunk, it's insane. And
I need a book.
Could you smell the alcohol off him?
Oh yeah. Oh, he's not walking straight, and he's just. So he goes and he like meanders around the store before making his way into the cafe, sits at a table, and just fully passes out. Just 100% nothing is here. And so, you can't touch him. You can't wake him. You could try to make noise around them. You could try to talk to them to get them to wake up, but you cannot, under any circumstances, touch them.
Can you poke him with a broom handle?
No, you can't.
That's touching on me.
But not with my fingers. It's with
you cannot do anything to physically interact with these people.
All right.
If you cannot get somebody to wake up, you have to call 911. That's your only real move if you can't get him to respond to you. So he was in the dining room for a little while, like he not even an hour, but like, probably almost. You kind of assume he's just kind of passed out over there, but we do call our manager. It's like, look, I'm pretty sure this guy is passed out in our dining room, because technically we're not supposed to allow people to sleep in it either, but like, people do what they want. But we did call her and tell her, like, look, he's passed out over here, and she's diffusing other bombs in other areas of the store, so it takes her like 30 minutes or whatever to get over it, and like they send and like, is he still there?
30 minutes.
And yeah, and it's just like, look, it was a weekend, and this place was wilder in the middle days that I was there. Like, it wasn't as wild in the beginning and it wasn't as wild in the end, but those like 4 years in the middle.
All hell broke loose.
It was like 4 years in the middle is at least like to the point that they had regular cop patrol routes that just hung around in the vicinity of our shopping center because of all the shit that happened. You have to understand, our store was one of like a dozen stores in our shopping center, and all this shit is just us. It's not even all the other stores that are like in the shopping center. So,
were you at the center of the Bermuda Triangle or something?
I'm in the center of Florida, so yes.
Which is where we're gonna be,
right?
So yeah, welcome to hell. We're like hell adjacent, where we're just like hell on crack. So
you're hell on angel dust, I think.
There you go. So this guy comes in, passes out at the table.
Bath salts.
Yeah,
hell on bath salts.
My manager, who honestly easily my favorite. She was my favorite manager. She was this short, like, Asian lady who gave zero shits. Okay, zero shits about absolutely. This woman was a biker up until she had like her second kid, and so was her husband. And like, this woman will gladly, without hesitation, you fuck with her, she'll punch you in the face, no questions about it. This is a woman who, when she worked for Ross, and I will call Ross out on this, she was one of the managers. She went to throw trash in a trash can and found a dead body, and it didn't even phase her. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think we glazed over and it didn't even phase her.
It didn't even
like,
phase
she,
her.
at that point, she had been in retail for so long, she's just like, All right, and called the cops. This is a woman who once found a guy. This is in a Castles and Poor People, but found a guy in the men's restroom having sex with a floor drain.
Ew.
I remember you told me that story.
And to clarify, the ew is not necessarily the sexual act. It is
The floor drain.
the floor
The floor drain, yeah. So
and the
this,
hepatitis and the
The sepsis and everything.
now this woman I am describing just because she's going to come into play in my last story. So 'cause she is a part of that one. But this is a woman who, despite being very small, will just punch you in the face if you fuck with her, and she'll tell you
Good.
that. And just like,
I love it.
honestly, one of my favorite people on the planet when I was working there was this lady, because she was just, and also one of the only managers I've ever had that was just, she sided with you, like instead of the customer, and that was the best thing in the world because she was the only one who would. So, but so she came over and she sits at the table next to him, and she's trying to wake him up without touching him, and she's talking to him like, sir, and like progressively saying louder, sir, and then she's like slamming her hand on the table to make a lot of noise, like, sir, and she can't get him to wake up. So obviously we have to call the cops. Ambulance shows up, they take him, he's alive, like there's no dead people in my dining room, but they take him, they just say he's really drunk, they give him stuff, they take him and they leave because he's still not waking up. Okay, that's day 1. Day 2, he shows back up.
It's equally an ongoing thing.
This is a multi-day saga. Day 2, shows back up, equally plastered, just as plastered, but this time he goes in the stairwell and that's where he passes out. Obviously, once again, they can't wake him up. They can't do anything. They have to call an ambulance. They show up. They take the guy. They leave. Okay. For day 2, I hadn't been there. Day 3 comes around. 3rd day in a row, there he is again, equally plastered, equally just like meandering around the store. People are trying to keep an eye on him because he came in this time. The first 2 times he came in kind of like the middle of the day. But this time he came in pretty late, but I saw him and I noticed him, and we have a different manager on duty at the time. And I like this guy. He was one of the sweetest people on the planet. He did not deserve to be in this store. He did not deserve the things that happened to him in this store. He was a very sweet person, but I also will say he is a very small person. He's shorter than I am. He's like built like a little stick. He's just a very small dude. Like I could pick him up and I could throw him. All right. So, and he's also just one of the nicest people on the planet. And he just puts 110% of himself into absolutely everything. And he tries really hard. But he was a fairly new manager too. So this guy comes and I notice him because I saw the guy come through the door, and we had headsets, and I said, hey, the guy's passed out in our store the last 2 days in a row. He came back. He looks equally drunk. So like people are like keeping an eye on him, and they noticed him go this time. He went into the bathroom. People saw him go in. People didn't see him come out. And so like the store closes, and I asked, it's like, did somebody see this guy leave? And nobody saw this guy leave. I'm like, well, we should definitely check to make sure he's not passed out somewhere. Sure enough, he's gone into the handicap stall, locked himself in there, and is passed out while sitting with his pants up, just for the record, but he passed out on the toilet. So he passed out sitting on the toilet with his pants on, though. So
did someone have to get like a little like camera and like take their phone and try and
there is a significant amount of distance between the end of the door and the floor in these stalls. You don't really have to do much other than just kind of like lean a little bit, like you could tell. So, like it's easily almost 2 feet of space in the handicap stall, like, and it's just like.
Oh, you would have hated the one spot that we had to stop when we went to Vegas with Geneva for her birthday.
You guys were telling me where you were like
it
way
was
over.
The stall, literally, there was one toilet that had nothing around it. It was just there, open toilet. Right next to it.
For the desperate.
Right next to it was a toilet that was surrounded by a wall. Like it was enclosed, but it was about, like you said, 2 feet off the ground that way, and about it went up to like Geneva's chest.
Yeah.
Like,
oh God.
That was your stall.
And so if you walk by, you can just look down and see.
Right.
Exactly.
Howdy. And like Geneva is 5'7", right?
5'7", 5'8", something like that.
So she's not like basketball
tall
status.
No, but still.
it's not. This was a slightly above average individual that was completely exposed by this tiny person bathroom.
Okay, sure.
Anyway, back to
your
the
story.
gentleman on the toilet.
Yeah, so God, there's a lot of weird bathroom shit. But so the guy's passed out and he's in the bathroom, and my poor manager had no idea what to do, no clue what to do, and I had to tell him, like, look, he's been here the last couple days, people couldn't wake him up, he's drunk, obviously he's drunk again, you have to call the cops, like that's just all there's, and he was just like, well, maybe maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that, maybe I should crawl under the door and go in there with him. I'm just like, and I'm standing there, and he's not joking. He thinks maybe he should go slide himself under the door and go into a locked, confined space with an unknown, very drunk person.
No,
I just look at him like,
especially like, since it's strike
no.
3.
And I'm just like, and I tell him, no, don't do that. It's like, what if he has a knife? What if he's not unconscious? Like, what if, like, all of these things that could be, he could attack you and you're just locked in a stall with this man. And like, don't do that. Just call the cops. And it honestly took some coaxing to get him to call the cops, because I'm just like, that is your only choice. Yeah. And it's just like, because he was very concerned for this person, but he didn't want to like call the cops and all that. But it's just like me and one of my other coworkers just like straight looked at my managers like, you have to call the cops. So I'm standing next to him while he's on the phone with 911, like with the speaker, and he's telling them what's happening. And this third time this guy's been here. And he tells his 911 operator, he's like, well, maybe I should go under the door and be in there with him. And the 911 operator is like, it's like, no, absolutely not. Do not do that. No. She's like, do not go in there. You do not know what is going on with that man. Do not do that. He might not just be drunk. Like, just like, absolutely is a terrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, please don't do that. Just don't do it. So, and so the cops in the 911, the ambulances and everything, they show up, we let them through the door, like, we lock the door behind them. It takes them like 20 minutes to get this completely unconscious guy out and get him outside. And like, what my manager didn't think of is that you unlock the door to let them in, and then you locked it when you closed it, which is what you should do. But then he took all of the employees and brought them to the other side of the store where all of this was happening, and then didn't realize until the people were trying to get out that we've now locked these officers in the store. And I'm just like, and as we're walking, and I'm looking at him, and I'm just like, is somebody over there? Because they are fully locked in here. And he's like, oh no.
Oh no.
Takes off running.
Oh my god.
They've locked all these officers away from their ambulance. And it's just like, holy shit. So we by the time we get out of the store for the evening, they're all still there, and they're all still out there, and he is fully conscious. And he's sitting there with like these EMT people, and they're asking him like questions about what he's taken, like what he's done, because they did finally get him to be conscious and coherent enough to talk to them.
Right.
And they're talking to them, and he's like, no, he's just like, I just drank a lot. And he's like, I just wanted to drink a lot. And they're like, well, you need to quit doing that. And he's just like, no.
No.
And they're like, well, you understand you can't come back here, right? And he's just like, why?
I don't understand.
Why?
Sir. I didn't say anything to them, but I'm just like, as I'm walking by, and I'm like, what do you mean, why? But he's just looking at these guys so confused as he doesn't understand why he's been fully banned from the store. And it's just like, maybe because we're tired of fucking calling the cops because of you.
Oh my god.
Yep, 3 days in a row, the same guy came, passed out.
Oh my god, no.
Yep.
Someone must have explained it properly to him, because it seems like he didn't come back after the third day.
Yeah, we didn't have any issues. Like, I never saw him again, so. Yeah.
Thankfully,
yeah. All right. I have 2 more stories, just FYI.
All right. Let's see. I got my next one. I was, oh god, how old was I when I worked here? I want to say 19.
Okay.
19, 20, something like that. Because I remember my friend was working at another location of this franchise closer to her, and I'm like, that would be fun. I'm like, let me
Yeah.
do that too. Because for whatever reason, Starbucks did not want to hire me ever.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. So I worked at this smoothie place. I don't even know if there's any locations left.
Okay.
So for the shits, I'll just give it the name Maui Wowie. It was a like very Hawaiian aloha themed smoothie place.
Okay.
This, you'll know where this is. You know where the Costco is on Tampa and Nordhoff? There's a Pink Berry over there. That's where it was. That location, that Pink Berry was where
We went all the way over there to work.
Yeah.
Gross.
That's where this smoothie place was. The owner, like, I got the job before the place even officially opened. This guy is like, he has no fucking clue how to run this place. He's also fresh off the boat.
Okay.
Fresh off the boat, my people. No clue what the fuck is going on. Like, all right. There was absolutely no training. He was like, you're gonna work here, figure it out. Like, here's a booklet. Here's a booklet. I don't know what the hell you're supposed to do, but here's a booklet, learn it. I'm like, okay. So I have to go through all these drinks and orders and be like, this is how you make it. So I'm like the slowest smoothie maker because I'm just learning as I go.
You're teaching yourself your job.
So. I am. I literally have the blenders and all this stuff, and I'm like, booklet. What goes in it?
Sorry, ma'am. I've never made this one before.
I've never made any of these before, ma'am. There was one time I was closing up, and it must have been 5 or 10 minutes before like we're closed, right? And like I'm wiping down the counters, I'm cleaning all the blenders and everything. There's no one in, no one has come in for the past like 3-4 hours.
Yeah,
like it's a slow fucking place. Like some family walks in about 10 minutes before I close, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm just like, I literally said, I'm like, oh, we're closed. He's like, your sign doesn't say that. I'm like, 10 minutes, bruh. You can see that I'm getting everything ready to put away for the night.
Yeah.
And he just got so upset and he would not leave. I'm like, fine. I will make you a shitty smoothie. Because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Also, you have to wear Hawaiian shirts as
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah. That was that. I mean, it wasn't, the worst thing. But I'm just like, I'm 19 going... I don't know.
You were alone?
I was alone.
You're
I had no coworkers.
You're alone, and you had to teach yourself your job. That's
I had no coworkers or anything. It was just me.
That's just fucking insane. What the hell?
I mean, you're on the evening shift alone as a female.
Yep. With no training whatsoever.
I'm not concerned about the training. I'm concerned about safety here.
Yep.
But
one of my friends worked in a gas station, and she would have to be there super late at night by herself, and it's just like,
because with gas stations you get the
stories about a gas station
when you get robbed, not versus if you get robbed. Like you know it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh, Aaron, did you have any more stories, or did you want to tell any more? You don't have to, but that's fine.
No, I don't think I have any other real good ones.
Thank you. Ani, were there more submitted stories?
Yes, from the same person. We got another one.
Okay.
All right, so he says this was the worst, was her last job where she worked for 9.5 years. After she put in her 2 weeks notice, they tried to get her to sign a document that said she could not work or take a job in the same industry.
What?
That's actually pretty, it's a non-compete clause, yeah.
Apparently, because it's a niche industry, despite hundreds of other companies doing the same damn thing, this is a localization company. What do I do now? When she refused and stated that she wanted to talk to a lawyer, her boss and HR tried to manipulate her further into the office by showing her the original document that she signed when she started, claiming that it said the same thing, which it did not, and she continued to demand to speak to a lawyer. After about maybe 30 minutes or so of them continuing to try to force her to sign the file and convince her that the document did in fact say that she couldn't work in the same industry. She finally got fed up, and she thinks that they were feeling bad, that she was crying at this point. So she said, I'm going to have a lawyer look at it, and I need to go to work, and say, if I need to go to work DoorDash and do, side work, I'm going to do it. Because anything is better than there.
Yeah.
They proceeded to let her go home, and she called out sick the next day. She showed a lawyer that same next day the paperwork that she was given, and the original document. The lawyer stated that she did the right thing because they didn't have a leg to stand on. This company that was just like, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Her old company, the one that she was, leaving from, hired a lawyer. They sent her a cease and desist letter. They also sent a cease and desist letter to her new job because they figured out where she was going.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds illegal that they figured it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Thankfully, eventually everything was squashed because they couldn't do anything legally. And then she thinks that they were just trying to use scare tactics to prevent her from going anywhere else in the company.
Yeah.
She's like, it's sad because I was a really good employee for the whole time that I worked there.
That's why they were trying to scare her out of it.
I would have been so pissed if somebody is trying to tell me that my 9 years of experience I couldn't take to like get myself another job.
Right?
Like, are you absolutely insane? No. Like, I'm taking my 9 years of experience and I'm going to get me a better paying job. Like, what are you the fuck is wrong with you?
But the fact that they found out where she was going to next and
Yeah.
sent a cease and desist letter to that company.
I am surprised that didn't cost her the job because most employers would be like, you have legal baggage that's coming at us for this. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? So, like, I'm genuinely surprised. I'm very glad that it didn't happen to her and that they were fine with it. But I'm really surprised because I feel like most places would just drop you like a hot potato. So
you're not worth this. Oh, you haven't done anything for us as a new employee, so there's no.
You haven't even signed the hiring paperwork yet. So that's insane.
Stupid.
That's absolutely insane. Fuck that. Fuck those guys. Jesus. Okay. Yeah, I would have sued the hell out of them. Like, I just up, down, left, right, and center. I would have sued the hell out of them.
All right. My next story takes place in bumfuck New York.
Love that location.
How
Very
far
scenic.
away? It is. How far is it from New York City? About an 8 to 10 hour drive from New York City. This place is 10 miles above the Pennsylvania border. It is 2 hours away from Erie. It's 2 hours away from Buffalo, and it's 2 hours away from Rochester. The closest Walmart was 45 minutes away.
Ew.
Ooh, okay.
Now, New York is a typically blue state. This was the only red county in the whole state that I ended up in.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear to God, after being there for a while, I started to notice how everyone, all the kids in junior high and high school, all the girls, look the same. Same features in the nose, in the cheeks, in the ears, in the lips. I'm like, someone has fucked someone repeatedly in your ancestry. Y'all are inbred.
Yeah. Those small towns usually are, though, because everybody's usually related to somebody somehow.
Oh, it was... And I'm just like... I'm the only, like... There was maybe 2 Asian families there, because there was 2 different, like, Chinese restaurants. No black people, and then you have me. Like, I clearly don't fit in either.
I have to ask, why the fuck were you there?
Because I was young and stupid, and I was dating a person from there.
Whew.
Yeah.
Every day I find new reasons to be glad I don't date. And that is today's.
That's today's reason. Yeah.
Well, if you knew this person personally, that would be all the reason you ever needed.
Yeah. She knows stories.
I know she knows stories, but if she'd actually met him.
If she'd actually met him, she'd probably just kick him in the balls. Which I did repeatedly do.
Which I would have loved to see.
I mean, I did repeatedly punch him and kick him in the balls when I could, so. Especially when we were in the pool. I'd just be like, nah!
You didn't do it in front of me.
No,
I would have enjoyed
that.
It's just like, where's my entertainment?
Right.
Alright, so this place that I worked at, because I know no one from there's gonna listen to this thing, was called Shorts. Alright? It was a gas station, a deli, a sandwich shop, a marketplace, a pizza place, and an ice cream parlor. All in one.
That's a minimum of 6 things. What the fuck?
Yeah, you walk into Shorts and you can, you get your gas outside, you come in to pay for it. And inside was that you walk in the doors and there's the counter. It's a square counter. And onto this side of it, to the left side of the counter was the marketplace. So you can get like your basic bread and jams and whatever. And then behind me was the wall of cigarettes and chewing tobacco.
Sexy.
And then behind all that was the deli counter, pizzeria, ice cream parlor.
There's so much in one. Come get your pizza flavored deli meat ice cream.
Just chunks of ham in the strawberry ice cream.
Pepperoni. Yeah, I love my strawberry pepperoni ham ice cream.
And it wasn't just pizza that they would make too. It was like wings and like
Oh no,
you know,
too many things.
deep fried fish,
Ew.
like fish and chips and shit like that. It's like it was everything.
No.
When it
So it's
comes
like a mini-
to food, the jack of all trades, master of none is not a good thing. Like, it's not a good thing.
We had this customer, this regular who would come in, and he would always get his. I don't remember if they were. I think they were black cherry Swisher Sweets. Those little
Okay.
cigarillos.
Mm.
This guy looked like Santa's drunk cousin because he had like the white hair, the white beard. He looked like he
Red
was completely
cheeks.
lost, red cheeks, and he always wore the same tattered jeans. Like you could see his boxers through his legs, either the front or the back. It doesn't matter. You would see it. There's a big ass hole. And I'm just
Okay.
like, sir, you are married. What? Does your wife not know how to sew a patch on this thing? Or if you can't afford to get new pants, like, come on!
Mhm.
Lord, okay.
And the thing is, because it's me, I'm nice, right? With customer service and shit. This man would always linger.
Oh,
He would always linger until like I was free and he like started making small talk. And I'm like, no.
ew.
Mm.
And this would happen all the time. I'm just like
Daily, it sounds like.
almost daily.
You might. Well, you're one of the only people in the town he wasn't related to. So
Hadn't tried them sweet fields before. You're welcome.
that's gonna be one of our merchandise. Just gonna say that for.
Write that down. Write that down.
Oh my god. I hate everything that comes out of my mouth.
Oh no, this is gonna be great.
Oh my god.
Oh, what did you say?
And hadn't tried them sweet fields before. They're both taking notes, everybody. I just need you to know.
I already have an image in my head of what I want it
No.
to look like.
I have one too, and it's not pretty.
Oh god.
Mine's not like. Yeah, we'll figure it out. No.
Okay.
And this isn't okay. The one I'm gonna say, like, I have another story that goes with this place with shorts because this is really all I can remember. But this next story about it is not a horror story. It's just remember this town is 10 miles above the Pennsylvania border. There are Amish everywhere.
Okay.
I saw my lifetime's fill of horse and buggies up and down the
Okay.
street.
Mm-hmm.
We would have the Amish come in,
Mhm.
and I would try. No offense to the Amish, but I would try so hard to suppress my laughter when I would watch the women try to use the coffee machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you know it's the ones where it's like, oh, you get a cappuccino, a hot chocolate, or whatever. It's one of those. I'm just like, do you want me to help you to press a button because you have no idea what you're looking at? And also, these people do not know what the fuck soap means, because the men, when they would come to the counter, I was like, please stand 10 feet away because I can smell you wafting off. Just,
Well, it's
Ew.
farm animals.
no, not farm animals, not farm smell. It was, I haven't showered in 3 days and I've been working under the sun.
Yeah. Well, okay. Farm life. Yeah.
Ugh.
Because they have
Look.
to drink, like, gather their own well water. Like, they have to take a bath.
I don't know if they use soap.
I think they make their own soap.
Yeah,
is
they make
just
their own
why, and he doesn't want to use that. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Anyways, no, it's fine. There was one night, so because I didn't have my own car, right? I was dependent on my stupid fiance at the time and his bumfuck family of I don't know what the hell we're doing with 3 children. Where only the man is working and the mom is a stay-at-home mom, or she was like a doula, and I'm like, you need to do more if you want. Your husband alone cannot be supporting this family. Also, when I lived there, I was the one who would do everything in the kitchen. I put the dishes away, I do the dishes, I do all of it. Because this man would go to work in the morning, and he would
Mhm.
come home, and he would do the dishes, he would cook, he would clean. What is the woman doing? Absolutely fucking nothing. Going through the garage and going like, oh, look, my crafts that she wouldn't even touch.
Okay, glad you got out of that.
Oh yeah, when I first met them, she was a Buddhist. And then a couple years in, she turned into a crazy Christian lady. Because her daughter started going to church and her other daughter going to church. I'm like, y'all are fucking nuts. What I did love though was when she told everyone that she was gonna go with her daughters and everything to get baptized, her dad was like, fuck that shit, I'm out. He didn't even
Okay.
go. I'm like, bravo.
Okay. All
Anyway,
right.
so I have no car, right? I have no ways of getting home, and it's not too far of a walk from this gas station, jack of all trades, whatever shop, to
Okay.
their house. But generally,
How many? Like give me a time estimate of how long it would take you to walk.
20 minutes?
All right. That's not terrible.
Still would have carried a weapon.
Yeah.
I had to walk home after a closing shift. Close
Hmm.
at around 10, 11, something like that.
Typically, or just this one time?
Typically.
Typically.
No one's picking up the phone. Fiance's not picking up his phone. I'm like, I'm not gonna sit and wait here outside of this creepy ass store in the middle of nowhere at night with no street lights around. I'm just gonna go walk back the way I know I'm supposed to.
Mhm.
I was so mad
Mm.
that no one picked up their fucking phone.
Mhm.
And I had to walk back. Not the fact that I had to physically walk, it's just
It's dangerous in the middle of the night in a small fucking town full of crazy people.
exactly. And then he had the fucking nerve to yell at me about not waiting for him or whatever. I'm like, I called you at least 3 times and you didn't pick up. What do you want me to do? Sit there and wait for something to come attack me? No, thank you.
This person.
I'm just. It's so typical.
Yeah, very typical of him.
Was that so connected?
Yes, it was.
Now this person.
Mm.
He lived back in this small ass town again,
He lived between Lima, Ohio, and Wellsville, New York.
and that is where he's located now.
I think he's in Lima. I think he's staying
Okay.
in Lima.
So if at some point I come to visit you, there's not a chance we're gonna meet this.
No,
person.
I
Okay.
have yeeted all of my exes out of this state.
This is your state. You're not giving it up to anybody. So
No,
that's
Him-
fair.
I met him when he was in Wellsville. It was out here for a bit, and I said get out. And he went to Ohio. He stayed there. The one after that, I met in Philly. He never came to LA.
Thank
He
God.
stay there. The one after that was from Arizona. Had moved to LA. We broke up. A couple months later, he went back to Arizona. I'm like, bye bye. And then the last one was from New Jersey. Came out here, and I sent him to Texas.
Yeah. That's fair. You got a great track record with it. Like, I don't like you anymore. Get the fuck out of my state. I mean, yeah, shit. All right. And I mean, Texas has plenty of room for fucking stupid, so
Oh yeah, I know.
he fits right in.
So you had to walk. Was
Yeah.
there story connected to the walking, or just the fact that you had to walk?
Just the fact that I had to walk in, like, again, no street lights. It's all wilderness. There's
Did you
one
end up
road.
having to do it a lot? Like, walk a lot?
I think I had to do that a couple of times.
Yeah.
But the
Like-
first time that happened, because I sat on one of those benches in the back where people would go sit and eat their ice cream or their pizza or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't want to just sit here. Like,
Yeah.
this feels
It
so...
seems dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah! Like,
Just
I have no weapons on me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though this guy was all about weapons on him, I didn't have a single one.
yeah.
Would have acquired a baseball bat at the minimum, an aluminum one. Clang.
Right? Just no. I mean that was the horror of that one, was just the creepy old man and having to walk home because I had no guarantee that I would be making it home.
Yeah. Jesus. Okay. That's. I'm so glad that all of your exes have been thrown out of the state because I don't want to meet any of them because it won't end well for most
I
of them.
know.
So
I'm glad they're not anywhere near me either.
that's fair. You know, it's not somebody you want to run into in like a grocery store one day. So
Oh good God, I don't know what I would do if I ran into my ex-fiance in a grocery store.
abandon the cart, turn around and leave, and just go back to
Yep.
bed because the day is just over. So,
Yep. Just whatever I was doing, stop it. Just I'm out.
yeah, that's pretty much your only choice, in all honesty. So cool.
That, or if I was feeling rather frisky, you start yelling, liar!
Mhm.
Mad Max's wife.
Mhm. Miracle
Oh.
Man.
Miracle Max. Sorry, Miracle Max's wife.
Oh, that's fair. All right. Shall I tell
Yes.
probably one of my top 3 stories?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready
So
for it.
this instance took place. There was a period of time where in the shopping center, my mom was a manager, or she worked in one of the stores in the plaza. Not in my store, but she worked in one of them. And so we, every once in a while, our lunches coincided with one another. And she would come over to the cafe and we would have lunch together. And this was one of those days.
Mhm.
She was there. So I was sitting in the dining room. I have my headphone, like we have like one of those headphones where you communicate with the other people in the store, and I have it on me, but it's not in my ear because I'm on lunch and I'm sitting there and like I'm talking to her, and so she leaves and I've probably got about 10 minutes left of my own lunch after we've had lunch together, and
Mhm.
I'm just sitting there like in the dining room, just like fucking around on my phone and all that. So, and one of my regulars was, he's a nice dude. I don't really know. He's not like one of those really friendly regulars. He's just somebody I recognize. And I'm sitting there and he walks up to me and he's just like, "Do you see this?" And I'm like, "See what?" And he's like, the lady. And I'm like, "What?" And he points to this lady who's walking around in the dining room. And I had not been paying attention. I'm just like on my phone or whatever. The dining room's just not that full. And I watched this lady and he's just like, "She's stealing." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I'm just thinking to myself, I can't do anything if I don't see her steal, because that's their, like, Castles and Poor People's one of their number one policies. You can't do anything unless you physically watch them steal something.
Right.
And he's just like, "Don't worry, just watch her." And we stand there and I'm sitting there and I watch this lady who has, like, if you took the comforter of your bed and threw as much shit as physically possible into it and then bundled it up by like the 4 corners so you could like pick it up with all the stuff in it, that's how much stuff is in this giant blanket that this woman has sitting on a table.
Oh
And
my
next to
god.
about 4 really big like tote bags, also full of shit. And like there's a backpack, there's a minimum of like 4 tote bags, and then this massive blanket just crammed with shit. And I watch her walk to our Godiva display, take some of it down, walk over to her blanket bag and start stuffing it in there. And then turn around and go back to the Godiva display, grab more of it, and just stuff it in there too. And it's just going back and forth.
God, the audacity.
Oh god. Okay. Okay. And now he wants back in.
Shit.
Yeah, not in the water. It went in the water. The world is ending.
Goodbye.
Okay. Now it's all cold and wet.
So,
Stuffing the Godivas.
yes, into this into this bag. She is stuffing like Godivas and just pulling them and just stuffing them in this bag. And I'm just watching there, mostly in disbelief that she's just not even hiding it. She's just walking from one end of the dining room to the other, just shoving shit in her bag. And I'm like, okay. So I just pull up the headphone and I'd be like, "I'm watching someone steal a bunch of Godiva." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, literally right in front of me, I'm watching this lady go and grab handfuls of Godiva and take it from the display, shove it in her bag, and go back and forth. So my store manager and one of my other managers, like both together, walk into the dining room and they look at me because they see me sitting there, and I just gesture over to the lady and they stand there and they watch this lady go back and forth and back and forth, and I'm just like, and I walk over to them and I'm just like, "So," and they're like, "Well, okay." So this lady at this point has decided she doesn't want any more chocolate. And
She's had her fill.
But as you're looking at her stuff, her bags, her tote bags, her giant blanket bag, and all that, you can very clearly see other merchandise of ours that is sticking out at odds and ends in places of the just numerous bags of stuff that she has. And her tote bags are not small tote bags. They're like the 2 feet long tote bags, okay?
Jeez.
So, and they're just crammed to overflowing. And when I say overflowing, I do mean it. Because then she went to pick everything up. And she's throwing tote bags over her arms and, like, you know, and so that she's wearing them all. And she picks everything up with, like, the giant blanket thing. And as she's walking, things are just falling out of the blanket bag, falling out of the tote bags. She's not stopping to pick any of it up. She's just now walking throughout the store, dropping the shit that she's stolen along with some other stuff all over the store as she grabs other things and is now shoving them in the bag to replace the things that are falling out. And at one point, she drops an entire bag and it just spills everywhere. And these well meaning, but really just shouldn't have been involved customers help her pick up all of our stolen merchandise and put it in her bag.
Did any of the merchandise have the spider wrap on it?
No.
Okay.
Most of that was kept behind, like, the counter and stuff like that. But they're helping this woman put our merchandise that she hasn't paid for, like, in her bags. And she has so many bags, she leans down to pick it up, and, like, more things are falling out. Like, actual physical Hansel and Gretel style trail of stuff from point A to point B of where this woman is going is just, it's books, it's games, it's, like, you know, like the board games and stuff like that, it's decks of cards, it's just like little miscellaneous, just, it's Godiva boxes just falling everywhere. And my store manager approaches her, and one of their big things is you can't accuse people of stealing. And look, they went through a lot of really stupid policies while I was there, and this was one of them. And so she's standing there talking to this lady, and she's picking up this stuff that the lady's dropping, and as she's talking to this lady, my manager's not even turning around to talk, because the other manager's standing behind her, and is just handing her our merchandise behind her and off the floor. And there's like, is there something we can do to help you? Like, do you need help with something? And she's like, no, I've got it. I've got all my stuff right here. And she's just shoving our merchandise more and more in her bag. More things are falling out. And it takes her, the point in which she started from the front door is probably 50 feet, maybe. She takes a slightly meandering path, but it takes her 20 minutes to get from point A to the front doors. And they can't touch her, they can't make her stop. They have to let her go. No matter what you're watching her do, they have to let her go. And she's dropping our stuff all over the floors, and, like, employees are, like, following behind her, picking up our shit that she's dropping, and just to get some of our merchandise back. And it takes about 15-20 minutes, and I'm standing there along with the other employees as we watch her just drop stuff and pick more stuff up and shove them in her bag. My manager's trying to talk to her to get her to stop long, because they've called the cops at this point, and they're just fucking taking forever to get there. And they're trying to get her to stay put so that she's there when the cops show up. But they can't keep her in the store. And so the lady walks out the front door. Now, from our Castles and Poor People location, there's at our side of the parking lot, but across a bit of the parking lot is a Walgreens, and we face the back of the Walgreens, where they have, like, the wooden pallets, you know, in their trash cans and all that stuff. That faces the front of our store, and it's probably like 50 yards.
Classy,
right?
Yeah. It looks real great. Like, our Castles and Poor People was 20 years old when I started working there, so, like, it's not exactly a classy area, but so it's probably about 50 yards from the front doors of our store to these trash cans and these pallets and all that. So we're all standing there at this wall of windows, all of the employees, watching this woman walk across the street, because obviously they were watching her where she goes, so they can tell the cops, you know, she went in this direction and all that. We all stand there and watch this woman walk over to the stack of pallets by the Walgreens and go between the building and the pallets and just put all of her stuff down and stay there. And that's where she was when the cops found her.
Oh my
because we all just fucking watched her walk 50 yards away and then sit down.
Was she too tired from lugging all of her contraband?
Probably.
Maybe. And
What the fuck?
they did return our merchandise and all that. Like, we got to keep the merchandise itself, but the Godiva obviously we had to throw away because we
Right.
don't know what she did with it in the time that she had it. But they found merchandise from no less than 5 other stores. Like, there
Oh,
was
yeah.
stuff from clothing
Damn.
stores, the Walgreens, like all kinds of places. Like, there's so many different types of stores like in that parking lot, and she
That
had
all
stuff
apparently
from
seem to have the same
yeah.
policy.
Like, this happened like towards like the earlier part of my shift, and by the time we closed that day, they were just like, it was like 9 o'clock at night before the cops like gave us our stuff back because she had so much shit they were having a hard time sorting it between stores.
Oh,
Wow.
Like, that's how much stuff she had. Is she had 4 large tote bags and then this giant blanket bag of stuff. And they filled they when they gave us our stuff back, we put them in bags and whatever. It was like 5-6 bags of our stuff just
oh
full
my god.
of stuff she stole from us.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, and she just didn't really seem to mind the fact that everybody was watching her. She was just very adamant that she didn't need any help and she was going to leave now. And it's just like, okay,
Okay,
sure.
delusional lady.
Yeah. So that was a bizarre. That was one of the most bizarre experiences I had there, and I was just like, what the actual fuck is happening?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you just gotta stand there and you gotta watch the whole show, and it's just like, okay, cool, I guess. So,
Wow.
yeah. So,
I got nothing.
yeah, that was a weird one.
But she didn't need help, so that's okay.
No, she
Right.
didn't need any help. She was good. So,
So yeah, no, I'm totally fine on my own stealing all your shit. It's fine.
yeah. Ani, do you have another story either from you or from the one that was sent to us?
No, I mean, I have another story, but it's not a work horror story. It does relate to the last Castles and Poor People that I worked at here, but this
Okay.
is after my seasonal shift, was over.
Okay.
I went back in because I go to this one all the time.
Okay.
I went back in just to browse and get some more books, as you do.
Yeah.
And one of the book floor people who I remembered from when I was there, she didn't recognize me at all. I'm like, wow, rude. Okay.
Yeah.
But she came up to me I'm deep focused reading
Yeah.
the synopsis on the back of a book.
Yeah.
Just, trying to get it all in,
Mm-hmm.
process it
Yeah.
and be like, do I want it? Do I not? Would this be for me? And she just shows up and she's like, hi, how can I help you? I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. I'm fine. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. I know how the process works here. She's like, oh, if you're into that, there's this and this. I'm like, no,
Mm.
stop. She
Yeah.
continues to throw 10 books at me. If you like this one and this one and this one and this one, I'm like, lady, stop.
Mm.
Like,
Just like, leave me alone. What the hell?
leave me alone to browse in peace. If I have questions, I will find somebody.
I'm a
Yeah.
bookworm. I can pack 10 books myself. Don't
Exactly.
need
I
you.
can find 10 books on my own. I don't need you throwing them at me.
And like,
This
I
is the-
appreciate the recommendations, but like, don't throw 10 books at me. Like, you
This is
say,
the
oh, that's
lady-
good. Just like maybe one recommendation is good.
Yeah, this is
Mhm.
the lady that that told me that if I liked the Throne of Glass series, I would really enjoy the Red Queen series.
Mm.
And I'm just like, the both of you did the same thing when I told
Mhm.
you. We're just like, the Red Queen?
Yeah, that
And I'm just
Well, we just did the same thing now.
yeah.
and and then when I was sitting there reading the synopsis on the back of one, I'm like, this doesn't sound like Throne of Glass series at all to me.
Yeah.
Also, this does not really sound like doesn't appeal to me.
And the worst part is it sounds a lot better than it is. And that's
Yeah.
bad because it doesn't sound all that interesting in the first place, but it's worse than that.
Yeah.
And it was not a good series.
I'm like, lady, I'm very well aware of the things that I like and the things that I can find on my own. Please go
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the fact that I remember you sending me a picture of like the fact that you bought the series, and I'm like, that's unfortunate.
I know, and I went back like 2 days later. I'm like, I'm just gonna return these. I'm not gonna read them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's funny is that those little those computers they have around the store, like around the floor, for
Yeah.
like people that work there to like go in and check where the inventory is and everything.
Yeah.
I have worked at Castles and Poor People before, not
Yeah.
once, but twice.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
know how these machines work.
Yeah.
So instead of me going up and asking some random person, like, hey, can you find the books? I feel stupid doing that. I can just go in there and do it. I went into the history section where like there's usually nobody there. There was one girl who kept going back and forth, like stocking books there, and I'm like, go away so I can use this computer.
Mhm.
Go away.
Out of curiosity, are the ones in your stores there? Are they not? Are they are employees only, or are they for
The
the public?
computers,
Yeah.
they're for employees only.
Okay. I was just gonna say because like the ones I worked at are employees only, and like where do you
Yeah,
work?
no, they're for employees only. But I know how they work. I know exactly how to use them. So I'm just like, just let me do my thing.
To be fair, when you and I lived in Pennsylvania and we went to go spy on that other store that one time,
Uh-huh.
they had public computers for other people to use.
Oh.
Borders used to have them for public.
Yeah.
Borders
Yeah.
would have them stranded all across the book floor.
Yeah.
But you, as a customer, were able to go in there and search for what you wanted.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, except for the letting freaks use the computer.
That
But-
too. But you
But
have to know
they
how to
don't
toggle
usually
between the
have-
screens.
Yeah, it doesn't usually have internet capabilities. It just has
No.
the capabilities of searching for your store's inventory. But yeah, her and I.
Well, I
That's the
mean,
only-
just people don't know how to behave. I mean, I'm talking broken keys, like
That.
Oh, yeah,
physical
that's- yeah.
damage.
That's very fair. Yeah, yeah, Ani and I went and spied on another Castles and Poor People when we were in Philadelphia because almost every other employee except for her and I were from that other store. And they had transferred over to the store her and I worked in. And we got so fucking sick of listening to them say how good that other store was. And it's just like, it was like the Essex location or something like that. And they're just
Yes, it was the Essex one.
constantly talking. It's like, well, the other store does this, the other store does that. Well, we had this at the other
Cafe
store.
is like this. The book floor is like that.
Pissed us, but like the manager there, the cafe lead that was there, like half the cafe staff were all like just all from that store, and they're talking about how good it is. I'm like, then why are you here?
Yeah,
if
if
that
it's
one
so
was
good
so
there,
good.
why did you leave and come here?
So we got really pissed off one day, and we're just like, let's go fucking find and see this other store because I'm tired. And we were also looking for a Panda Express because they don't have any.
They don't have one. There was one that was in like downtown, like Center City, Philly.
Yeah, and they didn't
I'm
have
like-
Panda Express, but we went and we like the GPS thing told us there was one not that far from the Essex store, so we went looking for it. It was not. It was a
It was
Mandarin
not Panda
Express.
It was Mandarin Express.
So, which was really, really, really similar, just not quite as good. But we went into that Essex location, and it was beautiful, and it was amazing, and it was old brick.
Yeah, we both
and it
looked at
had
each
like
other.
a
We're
lovely,
like, damn it is nice in here.
and it had like this really lovely like old brick look to it, and like that really just like New England style of old brick building, and then like part of the cafe had like these really nice circular seating and window area.
Yeah,
And it was multiple
nice.
floors. It was beautifully stocked. Like it had these computers you could use as a customer. It was gorgeous. Then we went to the cafe and they had a bunch of shit we didn't have, including
They
like
had so
Oreo
many cheesecakes we didn't
cheesecake.
have.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. And then all the employees were super nice. The cafe manager was there. He absolutely was just a very nice and helpful person. We told him where we were, and he just was so nice to us. And it's just like, I don't know if Ani was pissed about the fact that it was as good as they were saying, but I was pissed about it.
I was pissed. No,
yeah.
I was pissed.
My
It's just,
my
like,
my petty self was just like, oh, I really wanted it to not quite be.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I was hoping that it wasn't as good as they hyped it up to be, but no, it was exactly how they hyped it up.
It was
Aw.
beautiful. It was way better than our store. Like our store was pretty too. Like it wasn't. We didn't have an ugly store. We had a nice store.
We had a basic store.
Yeah, like it was considering where I spent 6 of my 7 years
Fair.
working. Where we were was really nice. But it was like we had a nice store. It was a clean, it was more or less a clean store. A little dated on the inside, but nothing too bad. But this store was beautiful.
It was
and
really,
pissed us
really
both
pretty.
off, and it's just like,
I
God
wonder if I
damn
can
it.
find pictures.
And yeah, it was really nice. It was really pretty, and like it was just like fuck. But yeah, so I suppose if those are all of your guys' stories, that brings me to the piece de resistance.
Yes, that is the pièce de résistance for you. Exton, not X6. Exton. It was an Exton.
Exton, okay. And it was a weird
Because Essex is in
word.
fucking London. Or
I mean, it is, but like it's Pennsylvania. Like there was a
True.
bunch of shit. Like we had what was that area? Paoli. That isn't spelled and sound anything like it was. There's so many
There's
more
the
letters.
outside,
Oh, I see.
It was very pretty.
Uh-huh.
the kids section.
Mm-hmm. This kind of... Oh, that's nice.
Trying to find.
It was an unfortunately nice store.
It was an unfortunately nice store. I don't need a video.
And the manager, I ended up seeing the cafe manager. It was not the first time I had met him when her and I went. At one time, we were having this massive book fair, and at our own store, and we had I shit you not, several hundred people in that store, and in our store, and it was a really really ritzy school that was there, so they had us make like custom colored icing.
Hang on, was this ours?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was our store.
That was ours. Because on Google it says Valley Forge. I'm like, close enough.
Yeah, we had the Valley Forge store.
Yours is nice though.
Yeah, it was nice. Like it wasn't a bad store by any means. But one of those times we had like this massive book fair, and they had us dye milk the colors of their school, and dye like we dyed the milk blue, and then we dyed the whipped cream a different color, and that way we had the school colors, and they had us put it on cupcakes, and they called them specialty school cupcakes, and then they made vanilla bean frappuccinos that were blue. And
all I'm hearing is blue and green poop.
Yeah, more or less. And they made us have yellow sprinkles, so we could have yellow in there too. But in the middle of this, like there was 4 of us behind the counter, we're just slamming out more and more and more orders. It just for about 5 or 6 hours of constant customers with no pause whatsoever. And then this massive 6-foot dude is just suddenly standing behind the counter. And he's not in uniform. He's just standing there looking at us. And all 4 of us women who are behind the counter stop everything we're doing, and we turn and we look at him. And he's just like, "Hello." And we're like, "Can we help you?" And he's just like, "Oh, I should introduce myself." He's like, I'm a manager at one of the other stores. Can I help?" And I'm just like, "Lead with that next time." That was terrifying. But he was very nice, and he was very helpful, and he spent like an hour helping us with the line. And
Oh my
everything,
gosh.
So, yeah. So on his day off in a store he didn't even work in, he was very nice.
An angel.
Yeah, he's just like, "You guys just look like you needed help," and I'm just like, thank you. Just really thrown off by the fact that you're suddenly just standing behind the counter, dude. But yeah, I do have a question for you, Ani. Did I ever tell on Work Horror Stories the dick pic story?
No, you were supposed to tell that, but you never did. Tell it now.
I didn't tell that, and I was sitting here thinking to myself, that is my best story, and it's easily one of my best stories, but probably
The blackmail story. No,
yeah,
you did
the
not.
blackmail story. The one story my coworkers wanted me to tell management, and I didn't. So I have a bonus story for all of you after the drama of the knife and everything. So I will tell the story every one of my coworkers that knows that this happened to me wanted me to tell in order to get this person fired. But I didn't, for reasons I will explain. My cafe manager was unhinged. And he was also very unstable in the mental health department for many, many reasons. Severe.
Is this the one that had been there forever?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
B.
Yeah.
This is B.
This is B. B, who, as you guys know from previous stories, the first thing he ever said to me is, "I don't know how this is going to work out." So, before even asking me my name, but
I don't know how it's gonna work out, but I don't like you. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and pretty much, and it's just like great. Very in some ways he and I got along, and in some ways he and I didn't. We were very, very opposite people. But he also had very bad mental health, and he was very depressed. But his way of dealing with other people was he enjoyed drama, and he enjoyed causing drama, and he enjoyed making his other employees pissed off at each other for reasons that he has fabricated. And that was all he did. That was all he ever did. And for more details of B, you can listen to the first Work Horror Stories episode, where I tell you guys all about him. Now, one of the things to know, and probably one of the least interesting facts of B, is that he's gay. Nobody gives a fuck like that. Just nobody gay. Like, dude, I hate to break it to you, you're not even the only gay person in this story. You're just the bitchiest. It's just like, that's all I don't know what to tell you. But he, during a period where there was me and three other female coworkers and him, and that was the entirety of the cafe for a while, because we had a severe problem of just suddenly just like a whole bunch of people quit, which is
unsurprising.
Every other month with that place.
Yeah.
So we had, because of that, most of us worked alone almost all of the time, and we didn't really see each other, which made communicating really hard. Because if something, like, well, these things need doing this day, or these things need doing that day. And remember, we had a cafe manager, but we didn't have a cafe lead. So he was the only one who had any authority to do a lot of shit. But he was also terrible at telling people about, like, changes and different things that happened. So we had a group chat. So, like, hey, the shipment's been moved to Monday, or hey, like, a new drink starts on Tuesday, or like just basic shit you could tell people, and that was the point of it. And so we had a group chat thing, and every once in a while, obviously, like you do a little chit chatting and whatever in there. One night, he can only have been what I assume is wine drunk. And very wine drunk. And he starts talking to one of my other female coworkers. And they were talking about, like, relationships and everything. And he had a very long-term boyfriend who he broke up with, and when they broke up, and there was a lot of cheating on the side of his former boyfriend and everything like that, and just a shit ton of drama. Like, there are truly the Maury Show levels of drama happening in this man's relationship with this dude.
Oh my god.
Yes, truly could have just been just the most trashiest, weirdest, randomest, crazy shit has happened. So, but this guy was a longtime boyfriend, but at this point in time is an ex-boyfriend, just for the record. At the point that this story takes place is an ex-boyfriend. And so he's talking to us and telling us about his ex-boyfriend. There's only one of us that is actively communicating with him. So there's 3 women, including myself, in this chat, and him. And our other coworker, who was very young, she had just turned 18, was not in this group chat.
Oh, no.
And I had not added her to it yet, kind of on purpose, just because, like, he was kind of weird. And I'm just like, I'm not like my new coworker. My cafe manager was kind of weird, and I didn't really want to add her into that just yet. So, like, she wasn't in it, but me and my 2 other female coworkers, who one was right about my age and the other one was younger than me. And I was probably in my mid-20s at the time. So I think the female coworker that he's talking with was the younger one. She's probably like 22. And they're talking about, like, ex-boyfriends and, like, just some other stuff. And they're talking and, like, everything. And he starts talking about his ex-boyfriend's dick in great detail. And I will say, at this point, I am reading the messages as they come in, but I am not responding to any of it. And I'm just, like, kind of horrified to see what's happening, but it's also 11 o'clock at night, and I don't have anything better to do than just, like, watch the shit show that is happening in the chats right now. And he's talking, and he's clearly getting more inebriated, and I can, and you can just see the moment where it just goes too far. And they're talking about in great detail, his ex-boyfriend's dick. And then the next thing that shows up in the chat is a full-on picture of his ex-boyfriend's dick.
Things we do not need to see.
He has sent a group chat, like, picture to 3 female co-workers, a picture of his ex-boyfriend's dick.
Unsolicited dick pic.
This is an unsolicited dick pic and could probably fall into the revenge porn.
Oh, 100% could
Category.
fall into the revenge porn category.
I mean, he was saying lovely things about his ex-boyfriend's dick. just to be clear. And the group chat, even from my female coworker that had been talking with him, just comes to a standstill.
Crickets.
And, like, just fully kind of not expecting an actual full-blown dick pic. And, like, she responds to him and the conversation fizzles out, like, pretty fast after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just truly horrified at the fact that not only did he send a dick pic, but it was of someone else.
Right.
Like, he has naked photos of his ex-boyfriend that he's sending to people that his ex-boyfriend has never met.
Mm-hmm.
and might not ever meet, but to these random women. And, like, I'm horrified on behalf of, like, his ex-boyfriend at this point too. I'm horrified for myself because I had to see that, but, like, I'm also horrified in the fact that, like, I feel bad for his ex-boyfriend because clearly, Jesus Christ, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Boundaries, people, boundaries.
and I should say this was done over Messenger. And one of the features, at least like a couple updates ago of Messenger, is you could edit a photo with like little, you could draw on it and shit like that, right? I wake up in the morning and he has edited the photo and just blacked it out, right? Okay.
Except that
my coworker is in his 40s and doesn't truly understand how Messenger works. And if you edit a photo, it does not edit the original photo. It resends the photo with the edits. So the original dick pic is still there. He has just now resent the dick pic, just blacked out.
Oh my god.
Doesn't matter, sir. We still saw everything.
And I'm sure everybody screenshotted it too.
Oh yeah.
Myself included. Because this man hates me and does everything he can to make my life a living. This is the same man who, after like 2 years of working there, had stressed me out so much I had a panic attack and went to the ER.
I remember that. I remember that.
Like, this, I hate this man. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I didn't turn in the photo and what happened. My other two coworkers also did not do it. I literally saw my coworker that he'd been talking to the next morning, and we were talking, like, that was unexpected and that was weird. And she's like, yeah, she's like, I'm just gonna ignore it and let it go. And my other coworker, horrified, but it's just like, nope, just not gonna deal with it. Yeah. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. That's acceptable. I also took the approach of, I'm not going to deal with it, because I understood at this moment that if I turn this photo in, he will be fired. But I also understand, after having worked with him for a few years at this point, this cafe is literally all he has. And not in like he's very dedicated to his work and everything like that. This is his only thing. This is the only thing in his life. He has, at this point in his life, has stopped going out with friends. He stopped like having like parties, going out. He goes to
Clearly
work.
Has an ex-boyfriend.
And he goes home. And that was because he had been in that semi accident, and that had messed up his back and had messed up a lot of his life. And it really did ruin his life in a lot of ways. Like, he had a fucked up life beforehand, but like, it really ruined his life, and it really took his life and spiraled it into an entirely different way. And I knew that if he got fired, he would be taking the only thing he had, like the only thing he really had any control over, and then like the most important thing in his life was this cafe. And he absolutely was 100% dedicated to this cafe, not in a way that was productive, but in a way that like somebody with severe mental health is clinging to something.
Right.
And so my three coworkers and I didn't do anything about it. Like, we didn't say anything. We didn't turn it in. Even when he got really, really bad, you know, especially like with me, and he was giving me a really hard time, and I was not in the world's best place either, but it just made me understand more of why I shouldn't turn it in, because if he did something to himself, I was going to feel terrible, because that would be on me in a way.
Yeah.
You know, and one of my coworkers, one of my male coworkers, found out, because he and I were having a conversation, and he said that he found out that somebody in the store had been sent a dick pic by our cafe manager. And he was telling me like it was a great revelation. And this was like a year or two later. And so I don't know who told eventually, but like he said, but he didn't know who had it. And at that point I was the only person who was in that original group chat that was still working there.
Mm.
And he was telling me, it's just like, somebody has it. I don't know who has it, but they should turn it in. And like, no. And I'm like, yeah, I know about that. He's like, you do? And I said, yeah, because that random coworker is me. And he freaks out. It's like, you have to turn it in. You have to turn it in. You have to get him fired. Like, just all of this on and on and on. And I just told him no. I told him I wasn't going to do it. And he's like, you should do it. You should get him fired. Like, what do you care? Like, he's just been nothing but terrible. And like, and I told him why. And I told him like, he could hurt himself. He could come in here and hurt somebody else. Like, I don't trust that he's mentally stable enough not to do these things. And he's like, well, if he does, it's not on you. And I'm like, it is kind of on me because I'm the one who makes the decision that will ruin his life. Like, he made this decision to send out this photo, but like I actively get to make that choice of whether or not to do something about it. And I'm not going to. And I absolutely spent the next like 3 years of working there, of listening to him hound me, of trying to get me to turn this photo in. And when he told one of my managers that there was a photo and that my cafe manager had sent out this photo, he didn't say that it was me. He just said that it was one of the baristas. And one night, it had been a couple months later, she mentioned it while we were like walking to our cars, and like we're all just chit chatting, and eventually it was just her and I, and we were just talking, and she mentioned it, and I told her, yeah, I know, I have it, like it was me. And she's just like, you should report it, you should turn it in. And it's like, we could get him fired for that. And I'm like, I know, but I'm not going to, because you're going to get him fired for that. And she said the same thing that he did, that, like, it's not your like, it's not on you.
I mean,
If
to
he
a
does
degree, they're
something,
right. It is not
yeah,
on you. Like, you did
it's,
your job to report the
yeah,
harassment or whatever. The rest is on him. Like, if he
yeah.
goes to hurt
Like,
himself, that's
his
on him.
actions would have led to his own consequences of him getting fired, and the things that he does after that are on him. But the choice of being a part in it would be my own choice, and that
Yeah.
wasn't
Mhm.
something I wanted to do. And I know quite a few people who have been in that position of making that decision that he might have been willing to make. And I didn't want to be the person who, if I would have just, like, if I would just keep my mouth shut, and then anything he does, that's on him. Those are his decisions. But if I do something that puts him in that position, and he hurts himself or he kills himself, I don't want to be the reason that other people miss him. I don't like him,
Mhm.
but I don't want to be the reason other people are sad that he's gone. I don't
Mhm.
have to like him, but other people care.
See, this
And
is where her and I differ. Like, if that was me and I had to deal with that kind of shit day in and day out for years, and I had the opportunity, I'd be like, I'm fucking taking it.
I totally understand that, and I definitely understand why people would do that.
And if someone was
Because
like, "Oh, did you hear blah blah?" I'm like, "Yes." Oh, really? Go, wah, I don't care. Like,
yeah, and I
I've reached that level of I do not give a
yeah,
fuck of what happens to
and
this person.
But I feel
fully
what she's saying.
No, I get what
yeah,
she's saying. I
and I
get what
fully
100%.
support, for anybody who's listening, if somebody is harassing you and you have the opportunity to get them away from you, you should take it. You should do the best that you can to keep yourself in your own positive mental health space. But I wasn't willing to be the reason somebody else's mental health deteriorated. But more than that, I know how I feel about the people who've treated the people that are close to me, that have come close to making those decisions of
Mhm.
whether or not they wanted to live, and how much I hate those people that brought them to those decisions.
Mm.
Mhm.
I don't want to be that person that causes somebody to make that decision, because I know how much hatred I have towards those people who impact the people that I love, and how much I hate those people that make them do that, and who I will hate forever just for bringing them to that point, even though they
Yeah.
didn't go through with it. Like, I will always hate those people for that.
Mhm.
And I don't want to be that person. And no matter how many times I explained it to my manager and to my former friend, they didn't get that. And I just didn't give a shit enough about whether or not they liked it, because it was my decision. And I have, to this day, backed up on a drive somewhere, an unsolicited dick pic
Just
that
gonna
I
go through
never
your
sent
pictures one day,
in.
and be like, "What is that?" Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And like every once in a while, like when I was having really bad days, and especially when he was being really terrible, I just think to myself, I could get him fired if I really wanted to, and I'd never have to see him again. And that makes you feel better. But then you also understand that why you don't do it and why I didn't do it. And and it's just like, and I walked out of that store the last day thinking to myself, I wonder if he has any idea that I actively, despite all of the shit that he did to me over 6 years, I could have gotten him fired years ago, but I didn't, because I gave more of a shit about him than he gave about me. And I like I walked out of there feeling better about myself on the last day, but I also felt bad for him because he was just continuously never going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That man's stuck in his own spiral, and there's no changing it. There's no helping
Yeah.
it.
There's nothing but forcefully removing him from that position will ever change his life. So,
Yeah.
but I did. I can honestly say it's the only dick pic that's ever been sent to me, and it was of a gay guy's ex-boyfriend's dick. So
Just add to the list of reasons why Misty doesn't never want to date.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm so glad I don't date, because holy fuck, no. It's not. It's just I don't understand people who date. I really don't understand people who take naked pictures of themselves. So because
The number
apparently
of
you
dick
have to
pics that I've
worry.
gotten, I'm just like delete.
You
Stop it.
have to worry about your exes sending them into group chats with their coworkers and strangers. So when they're drunk, so don't do that. So
yeah, no.
Don't do
but
that.
I will say, over the next like several years that I worked there, it really kind of pissed me off that despite me explaining my reasoning for not turning in the dick pic, said coworker continued to try to get me to do it. So
Was that the other B?
that was somebody who did not understand, like me telling you and explaining my reasoning of why this is no, did not understand that repetitively telling me something
It's
was
not
not
the
going
way
to change my mind.
Mm-mm.
It's the same person who spent so much of our friendship together trying to get me to smoke weed, and I wouldn't do it because I don't smoke anything, and it bothers me. Like, I don't want to. Like, I don't give a fuck if other people do it, but like
Don't
like
force me to do it.
yeah, and he just like, and whenever like any conversation about mental health and anxiety and whatever would come up, and he would just be like, "You'd feel better if you just smoked, like I can get."
How do you know? Not everyone's gonna react to weed the same way that you do.
And me explaining to him like the absolute real, like genuine deep reasons why I don't want to and why it makes me uncomfortable didn't change the fact that he spent 6 years trying to get me to do it. So, but this brings me to my wildest, craziest, most interesting, bizarrest, most dangerous story.
I'm so ready for this.
This takes place to over multiple months and multiple people it happens to. Same person all the time, for the record. So one of these nights I'm working and my coworker in the cafe and I are closing, and she goes on lunch, and I'm supposed to take lunch as soon as she gets back. And 30 minutes roll by, she doesn't come back.
Oh no.
And I'm just like, okay. I'm starting to get irritated because I'm like, where is she? Okay, where is she? 45 minutes, an hour rolls by, and like I'm talking into the headset, like, has anybody seen her? Like, what's going on? No one is answering me. No one. And I'm just like, what? And I can see like some of the other employees in the store, and I'm just like, what is going? Like, hello. And finally, like one of the managers is just like, we'll send her to you as soon as we can. And I'm just like,
what?
Yeah, okay.
something's going on. So at that point, now I'm just worried. It's like I went from being pissed to being worried. So she comes back into the cafe,
right?
And she grabs one of the bags of like our whole coffee beans, and she says, "I'll explain later. I'll be right back." And she leaves again, and I'm like,
Bag full
because
of
we had
coffee.
we had like a container.
She's not
like,
dead.
Yeah, like, well, but we had like a container like full of coffee beans that we used to like refill stuff, and so she has it, and she just took it with her, and I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? Now I'm confused and concerned, and I'm just like, okay, well, she's fine, so there you go. And she comes back, and I'm just like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, it's not me. And she
Okay.
proceeds to tell me what has happened while she went on lunch. One of our other female coworkers, who she's probably about 5'6", and I'll give her credit. This is a tough chick. She shouldn't take shit, but she's also a very nice person. She went to go outside, like where our front doors are.
Sorry.
We have a friend. Who's our friend?
It's Cookie.
Aw, Cookie.
I thought
Get a
touching
glass
her
of
would shut her up.
you get a glass of milk, you put Cookie in it, and then you got a cigarette. So I threaten that with Oreo all the time. I threaten to put it. It's like, I'm gonna get a big old glass of milk and I'm gonna put you in it, and then I'm gonna eat you. Because you have to dunk Oreos in milk. And their water dish that I have that's in my room is a giant cup. So like it's a giant. It's technically a measuring cup, but it looks like a mug. And I threaten to fill it with milk and put him in it. So that's fair. So our coworker, our female coworker, she's in her like mid, upper 20s and everything. She goes outside to have a cigarette. It's probably about 7-8 o'clock. It's evening, but like not pitch black at this point. And so she goes out, and not like probably 15 feet from the front doors. She doesn't even turn a corner or anything. She's in front of like the glass and all that. But our registers are right there, and there's really high display shelves between the registers and the glass, so you can't. It's hard to see past them. And so unless you're paying attention, you kind of have to like look over a little bit. So she goes out there and she has a cigarette, and she has a Red Bull can in her hand, and that's important. And this guy, very, very homeless, very like deranged drug addict kind of looking of a person. He's not that tall. He's probably 5'5"-ish, 5'4", 5'5"-ish is probably more accurate. Super thin, but definitely has that look in his eye. Like, this is somebody who probably does hard drugs and is no longer have all of his oars in the water because of it. And she's having a cigarette, and he walks up to her and he asks her for a cigarette, and she tells him, she's like, this is my last cigarette. I don't have one. And he starts demanding a cigarette. Give me a cigarette. You need to give me a cigarette. And she's like, no. And she starts to leave, and he grabs her and he shoves her against the glass, and he's pinning her there, and he won't let her go. And he has his face with less than an inch away from her face.
No.
And he's screaming at her, give me a cigarette. And he will not let go of her. And she's screaming for help. And she's screaming and she's screaming. And somebody in a Jeep is driving by, slowed down, and leaned out the window, was like, hey man, let her go. And then didn't proceed to do anything. And she's
That's not really helpful, bro.
for help. And she takes her Red Bull can, which she hasn't opened yet, and she shoves it and she slams it right into his face, which gets him to let go of her enough that she can shove him as far away from her as possible. And she has to run back in the store screaming for help. And she runs immediately. She doesn't even stop running. She just runs into the office and to find our manager. And she's just fully freaking out. She's having a panic attack. She's losing her mind. They have to call the cops and everything. And my coworker who had been in the cafe had been in the lunch area, which is directly next to the office, and heard all of it. And so the reason she was late coming back was the fact that she spent an hour sitting there comforting her and holding her because she's just fully having a meltdown and a panic attack.
Yeah,
she was
right.
fully physically just assaulted, like directly in front of our store.
Jeez.
So I go on lunch directly after my coworker gets back, after she tells me all this, and I spend my whole lunch sitting in the lunchroom with her as well. And I walk her, because she calls her fiance, and she tells him, she's like, I'm going home. Like, you need to pick me up like right now. And she tells him like what happened, and he's obviously freaked out, but he's also super pissed. And like, I walk her to the front of the store, and we wait inside until he gets there to come pick her up and everything. And she's just a mess, an absolute mess. And he comes in, and he's just like, he's super pissed. He's just like, where is this person? Like, where is he? And they're like, we don't know. Cops aren't here. And I just look at him and say, you just need to take her home. Like, being pissed isn't going to help. She's a mess. You need to take her home. And my
Mhm.
coworker, for the record, because I feel like people are going to ask what the coffee beans were for, this man smelled so bad, she actually got sick. Like, when she came inside.
Oh,
And she came inside, and like between the nausea and everything, she just kept saying, "Oh, she can't smell anything but him." So my coworker had grabbed
oh,
our coffee
Aw.
beans to put it in front of her so she could just
That's
sit
a
there and
good
smell.
idea.
yeah.
And she had it for a while.
Coffee
Like,
will,
we left it with her so she could just sit there with it, because it was actually just physically making her sick. And so, you know, obviously the cops go looking for the guy. They don't find him. But they
course
have a
not.
general idea of who he is because they've had problems with him before, but they don't find him. So that's
Great.
incident 1 and victim 1.
Oh god.
So probably a month or so later, that manager I was telling you about, the chick who used to be a biker and all that.
Yeah.
Now, our whole building on 2 of our longest sides are solid glass windows, just huge
Mhm.
glass windows. And we have like glass emergency exit doors and all that as well.
Mhm.
And on the one side is like where like the kids' books are, and like the kids area and all
Yeah.
that. And that's at the side of the building. So my manager had gone, and she went, and she was on her lunch break. She had her purse with her, and she went out to have a cigarette, and that's where she was, is on that side of the building where the glass windows are, right outside the kids area. And she's just having a cigarette. This same man walks up to her and tries to steal her purse. And
Oh my
he
God.
walks up, grabs her
Oh.
purse, and they get into a struggle over the purse, and he tries to attack her. And he lunges at her, and I love my manager because she's just taking no fucking shit. But she's screaming too, obviously, for help. Because my manager, this dude is not that big, but he is bigger than my manager.
Mhm.
And she's screaming, but she calls the store, and she's screaming for help. And one of our coworkers was in like the kids department and saw her through the windows and went through the emergency door.
Mhm.
And was like, but at the same time, we actually had cops patrolling in the parking lot, and they saw everything, and they ran out about the same time that our coworker got there and pulled them apart, and they arrested the guy right then and there.
Uh-huh.
And my manager, I love her because she's just still screaming profanities at this man.
Yeah.
Just screaming at him. He's a motherfucker. She's gonna beat the shit out of him. And they have to tell her she needs to back off. And she needs to go have a cigarette or something and just calm down.
She's like, I was trying to.
And they asked her, it's just like, is there anything we can do to make you feel better? She's like, yeah, leave me alone with him. Like, we can't do that. But they arrest this guy, okay? So they fully arrest him. And at some point, I don't know like what happened, he is out again. So my manager was victim number 2. This third one is where my planning comes into place, where like I just sit there and I just think to myself, what would I do if, and then plan for disaster scenarios, because I had a plan.
I do that at concerts.
Oh yeah.
And I had a lot of free time at this job, and I'd just sit there and think of what's the worst possible thing can happen, and what could I do?
She's so cheery.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we love her.
Yeah. So the thing to know about the cafe is like the dining room is massive. It's too big. It's stupid big. Like, it's ridiculous how big this cafe is. However, behind the counter is ridiculously small. It's probably from the back counter to the front counter, because the whole thing is rectangular. From the back counter area, which leads into the swinging double doors into like where the freezers are in our sinks and stuff like that. It's rectangular, but from one counter, the front part of the counter, to the back counter is probably about 5 feet. Like, I could probably sit, and like I wouldn't even be able to fully lay down. Like, it's probably about 5 feet. But it's very narrow but long in the back. And I was like, I've seen this man before. I was there the day like my first coworker was attacked. So I knew who this guy was because I'd seen him before. And I saw him come back in the store. This is probably 2 months after the very first incident where my first coworker was attacked. And somehow this guy is out once again. And that manager, that the one who wanted to go in the stall with that one dude, is very, very sweet, but just holy shit, was the one on duty. And I see this guy come in, and I recognize him, and I'm like, fuck, because he's here. And so I say over the headset, I'm just like, that guy is here. Like, that guy who attacked our coworker is here. I'm looking right at